Speaking of the cruelest leaders in all of history, you might be surely thinking of Hitler or Mussolini. But they aren't the only cruel ones the world knows. Just to let you know, leaders have been a lot wicked well before history could record them. Others, like Chinese Empress Hu, are also obvious choices. But when we dig deeper and look at the way they ruled and how their subjects perceived them, it becomes clear that they weren't the only most cruel ones. So, let's focus on the despots who have made their names in history in a not-so-good way. Many of them are well known, and many are not. There will undoubtedly be names on the list that will ring bells for you, as their cinematic depictions have further cemented their notoriousness. Their ruthlessness has surpassed all in recorded human history. But you need to remember the maxim: one man's hero is another man's tyrant. No matter how historians paint their leaders, building a tower of live men stacked together with cement and mortar is outright brutality. So why not join us on a virtual trip to meet the top 10 most cruel leaders throughout history? Number 10. Attila the Hun. Back then, it was a norm to kill all the potential aspirants to the throne, be they real or stepbrothers, uncles or cousins, or even sisters if they could inherit titles. And this is precisely what Attila did to become the leader of the Hunnic Empire. He killed his brother to become the unopposed ruler of the empire, situated in present-day Hungary. He worked hard to expand his empire, which today includes present-day Germany, Russia, the Balkan, and Ukraine. Talking of his brutality and cruelty, he remarked once, "There where I have passed, the grass will never grow again." Number 9. Genghis Khan. Genghis Khan spent his time as a slave during his teenage years, before he united with the Mongol tribes to conquer a massive part of Asia and central China. He is notorious for being the most brutal ruler, and historians have unanimously said he slaughtered civilians en masse to pave the way towards creating the largest empire the world has ever seen. Over the course of time, he showed no mercy to his enemies, often wiping entire cities on his way. This wide-scale massacre killed an estimated 40 million people, or 11% of the world's population. He did all in his capacity to mentally harass his opponents by instilling fear. His spies would penetrate the opposition camps and brag about the atrocities of Genghis Khan. Number 8. Timur. Tamerlane the Great was also known as Timur. His reign reeks of bloodshed of innocent civilians. He was one of those leaders who had an undying affinity for cold blood. He believes he was a successor of Genghis Khan, and therefore widely emulated him. He led military campaigns through a major part of Western Asia, including modern-day Iran, all the way to Syria. During his reign, he orchestrated the construction of a tower made out of men, stacked one atop another and cemented with bricks and mortar. The sad part is they were not dead, but alive human beings. He also ordered a wide-scale massacre in Baghdad to punish a rebellion. He had at least 90,000 heads chopped off to build minarets. Number 7. Queen Mary, aka Bloody Mary. Don't go by the name of this cruel queen, as the sanctity of Mary didn't even pass by her. She was the only child of Henry VIII and Catherine of Aragon. Mary I became Queen of England in 1553. Although her predecessors championed Protestantism, she immediately reinstalled Catholicism as the state religion. She married Prince Philip of Spain, who was a Catholic. Over the next few years of her reign, hundreds and thousands of Protestants were burned, and this is why she earned the nickname Bloody Mary. Number 6. Vladimir Lenin. The USSR never saw a leader as cruel and merciless as Vladimir Lenin. In 1917, he initiated the Orange Revolution to overturn the provincial government. For this, he overthrew the Caesar. It was during this revolution that war and famine haunted the civilians. Lenin demonstrated a spine-chilling ruthlessness towards the suffering of his fellow countrymen. He also pitilessly crushed all opposition that came in his way. Number 5. Joseph Stalin. If Lenin's mercilessness to Timur wasn't enough for the Russians, they were thrust towards Joseph Stalin. He quickly implemented collectivization and industrialization in the 1930s. This movement led to mass-scale starvation along with the confinement of millions of Russians in labor camps, and the Great Purge of the intelligentsia, the armed forces, and the government. Number 4. Adolf Hitler. By the end of 1941, Hitler's Germany Third Reich Empire had conquered almost every European country, and also a large part of North Africa. It was his plan to create an ideal master race. His master race excluded the Jews, Slavs, homosexuals, gypsies, and all political opponents. This was not mere exclusion, but mass-scale exhumations by forcefully sending them all to concentration camps. The camps were filled with carbon monoxide gas, and people were tortured to death. According to experts, the Nazis silenced at least 11 million people this way under the tyrant rule of Adolf Hitler. Number 3. Mao Zedong. You will hear many blowing the trumpet for Mao Zedong. They argue China was modernized under his rule. In reality, it was this communist leader who forcefully put the industry and agriculture under the state's control in China. Any opposition standing in his way was swiftly put to rest. Many others point out that it was his brutal policies that led to the death of 40 million people through forced labor, executions, and starvation. Number 2. Idi Amin. General Idi Amin overthrew an elected government in Uganda with the help of a military coup and declared himself the president of the country. He was popularly known as the Butcher of Uganda and considered the most brutal despot in recorded history. For the next 8 years, he mercilessly ruled over the country, and around 300,000 people were massacred during his regime. He also forced out Uganda's Asian population, which consisted of mostly Indians and Pakistanis. He spent reckless amounts to strengthen the military. Both of these ventures led to the country's economic decline. Number 1. Augusto Pinochet. Augusto Pinochet overthrew Chile's elected government in 1973 with the help of a US-backed military coup. Reports say several people mysteriously disappeared during his rule, and 35,000 people were tortured. Pinochet died before he could stand trial on the accusations of human rights abuse. These were the 10 most bloodthirsty leaders that had been the focal point of controversy for centuries. The lethal combination of their natural cruelty, or madness, and absolute power made their regime terrifying. Modern researchers term them as mentally sick, as per the current standards. Still, no matter what, they were undoubtedly the cruelest leaders throughout history. They used inhumane tactics to materialize their political or military agendas. Unluckily, world history was full of leaders who were nothing more than a disgrace to humanity. They brought misery to people with cruelty, bad governance, and a lack of responsibility for their actions. Can you think of more leaders who were far crueler than the ones we mentioned? Share them in the comment section below. Please give us a like and subscribe to our channel, District 10 TV, for more videos like this. Thanks for watching, and see you in our next video.